reacting to good to evil parents from South Park. Let's go. I can just. Alright. Go.
South Park is full of absolute chaos.
Alright, let's see.
And although the main focus of the show is the kids, oftentimes the parents are the cause of that chaos. From misunderstandings to riots to full-on war with other countries, everything
what the heck happened
that
there?
could go wrong finds a way to go wrong. But in times of trouble, who else can you rely on other than your parents? Today, we'll be breaking down South Park's parents and trying to figure out who are the best and who are the absolute worst.
Okay, let's
I'm
see.
Brad with Wicked Binge, and this is South Park Parents, best to worst. How did I manage to raise the...
Hey, what the?
And before we begin,
Dad,
we just want to make things
Dad
clear.
just-
We'll be ranking parents together as a team. We want to know
Wait.
which South Park kids have the best
Which
parents
one is
and
it?
which have parents that are
Maybe.
totally crazy. Now let's get started. As usual, we'll be dividing our list into 3 sections: the good, the gray, and bad to evil. Now let's start with the good. In the best of the good parents, we have Steven and Linda Black, parents to Token Black. They work hard to provide a good life for themselves and their son.
That's racism.
I don't think we quite fit in here. They try to help their son when he begins to be self-conscious
I'm not
about
gonna
being
say it,
more well off.
because I'm
And
not
parents took
racist.
something from the experience,
This is
still
my
doing
back
small
and forth.
things to make him feel more like his peers, like watching pandering television and eating just macaroni and cheese for dinner. They clearly care for their son a lot, making sure he's healthy and happy, in spite of the dysfunction around them, and instilling good values into him, which actually really shows, because all the kids in South Park, Token, is actually presented as one of the most mature and well-adjusted, which suggests that his parents have done a good job raising him. In fact, his family life seems to be far more normal than the other kids in the neighborhood, so good job to them. Moving on to the silver
Alright,
note,
let's see.
we have Jimmy's parents, Ryan and Sarah Palmer. It isn't easy raising a child with special needs, but thanks to their love and support, Jimmy grew to be friendly and optimistic. They take a grounded approach when confronting their son over anything.
Okay, let's
For
see.
example, sitting down to discuss
Oh,
his behavior when he accidentally joined a violent gang.
Your mother and I have noticed a change in your behavior.
Or being upfront when they think he's indulging in,
Jimmy?
well, some of the things a young man does alone.
Jimmy, are you masturbating?
You know, that's actually pretty
Masturbating?
awkward, but they mean well.
What's a
They aren't
master?
always as involved as they should be.
What the?
And forever.
What are you doing
We have Mr. and Mrs.
The
Rodriguez,
rich people.
restaurant owners relatively
That's
new to
bad.
South Park. They moved from Boise to
No,
give a
so
better
that's
life for their
some
son.
things
They
that
expect a lot from him
real
at a young
people.
age.
But who cares?
School, a social
That-
life, and working in the family restaurant, but you know, it makes sense. They clearly devote a lot of time and energy into a business and learn how to dedicate themselves in order to be successful, something they want to pass on to their child. So it's obvious that they want their son to have pride in his family and the work that will someday be passed down to him. His father, in particular, seems nervous about angering potential customers, telling David not to anger Cartman since he was a Yelp reviewer.
No one start, please.
But starting over in a new community must have been a stressful enough experience without the review bombarding. Cartman is evil.
Do you ride your tiny bicycleta?
Next are Heidi's parents, Mr. and Nancy Turner. They aren't shown very much, but we see enough of them to know they're very protective. During their daughter's summer party, Nancy states she invited Margarine out of sympathy for the little girl being new to town and not having any friends yet, not realizing it was Butters. In the same episode, Mr. Turner is seen guarding the house to keep any boys at bay.
Mom, I knew it. Boy, it's a summer party.
His methods were excessive, with most agreeing.
Ha! I knew it boys and I didn't talk before because I was shocked.
Choice may be a surprise, but we're gonna go with
And the other
Laura
one.
Thomas Tucker.
Oh, the middle finger family. The middle finger family, we don't.
Rather than actually talking to them.
Sometimes we call it the board.
Scolding each other at the dinner table.
And kids doesn't know what shooting the ball is because we don't shoot.
We rank them this high because they also taught their son some great values. Thomas shows pride in hearing his son getting into fights and winning, but he also eventually comes around after believing Craig is gay. Next are Roger and Betsy Donovan. Roger we don't see too much of, aside from an occasional small speaking role.
What the heck? Just there was a middle finger. No, just TikTok. Erase that. TikTok, YouTube. Erase that. Erase that.
Even coming to a school to yell for it.
Come on, those always an ad.
Okay, slaps.
And remember,
And it was ultimately what
Those
killed her.
ads.
She appears to Clyde one last time, begging him to not let it happen to anyone else, which just resulted in giving her son a traumatic scar for the rest of his life, blaming himself for his mother's death, and scold him only to prevent him from getting hurt or hurting others. But still,
I'm gonna
what a way
block
to go.
that.
And that pretty much wraps up our good parents. Now we're moving on to the gray area. And starting out with our gray area, we're going to have to place the Stevens and the Testerbergers together. They're hit or miss when it comes to parenting in their own ways, so it was hard to dub one couple worse than the other. For the Stevens, they allowed their daughter to cave to the pressure of being a stupid, spoiled whore and let her host a
Oh, he just said.
party. I mean, this is really pretty screwed up to say the least. For Wendy, her parents are clearly moral and upfront, but they also cave a lot to the masses and popular belief. Mr. Testerberger is even willing
It's
to
cheating.
daddy to two underage girls right in front of his daughter.
I'll make you the stupidest, most spoiled of them all.
Again, really screwed up stuff. We can at least say that Baby and Wendy have picked up some leadership skills from their mothers and have been raised to help their peers rather than tear them down.
Wendy, we're sorry we called you names. Like not stupid and not spoiled.
So all in all, when you look past some of their worst moments, it appears they've done quite a bit well. Next, we have PC Principal and Strong Woman. Parents by accident. They have a weird way of raising their kids because they aren't given enough time to have a mature relationship between them, both professionally and personally. They end up having to raise kids before being ready.
You better watch your microaggressions, bro.
While PC Principal shouldn't be beating up children, then again it was Cartman, he at least steps up as a father, regardless of the fact that Strong Woman was trying to do everything on her own.
I have worked my whole life to be the strongest woman possible.
They both were clearly doing what they thought best, which says a lot for their character. Should they have let their kids be exposed to fame at such a young age? No, but you have to hand it to those kids. They were determined. Next, we have to include Mr. and Mrs.
I didn't see
Garrison
that part.
Sr. When your parents to the erratic, perverted, and out of control Mr. Garrison, it's easy to see some wrong choices were made. Now, because we know so little about them, we can only judge and place them based on what we've seen. They're seen early in the series, and it's expressed that they had a loving and pretty much perfect home life. But that didn't mean Mr. Garrison Jr. was okay with
This
that.
is too
When he visits them while
short.
chaperoning a
It's
school
gonna be
trip,
long
he
for
guilts his
TikTok
father about not
or
having
YouTube.
abused him growing up, demanding
What
to
I
know if
wanna
it was
do-
due to him being unattractive. You can't help but feel bad for Garrison Sr. when he gets the guilt trip from not only his unstable son, but also from his wider son, tricking him into thinking it's his father, but at least it wasn't as disgusting as it could have been. I guess. The next one was a tough call, but we're gonna have to give this spot to Richard and Mrs. Tweak. They just barely made the neutral part of our ranking, since they have a very shady business practice of sneaking meth into their coffee to get people hooked on it. And the real reason they can be right this time is due to how they're shown to treat their son. They use his panic attacks to get when guilt tripping, which is pretty terrible. His hormone anxiety seems to be the direct result of all the coffee they give him too, which is seriously a bit negligent. They support his relationship with Craig wholeheartedly, which is nice. But as we
This is just my cousin and my sister playing a game.
This life came as a relief to their anxious son.
Wait.
And with that, we've wrapped up the gray area. We now get to the dark side. These parents are
Oh, heck no.
From bad to awful to pure evil. Starting out the dark side, we have Randy and Sharon. In all honesty, their ranking is weighed down overwhelmingly by Randy's craziness.
Yeah, Dan, why don't you go upstairs and play with yourself?
In fact, oftentimes, Sharon ends up being a voice of reason to balance out her husband's irresponsible behavior. And truthfully, they both clearly care for their children, but they have different ways of expressing it. Randy is always driving his family through ridiculous situations, from causing panic over global warming to flooding a theater, which resulted in the death of a small boy, to running a pot farm. Then there's the fact that he's going to get into fights with other dads at his son's sports games, drives drunk with his son and his son's friends in the car. He causes all sorts of riots across South Park.
Reason got me like little hoses.
In a weird way, he doesn't see much of this as dangerous or bad, so his intentions aren't necessarily the worst. But he makes some pretty reckless parenting choices, to say the least. Sharon, on the other hand, while she does have to stand her head on her shoulders, also caves Randy a lot, and stays with them simply because it was more comfortable than moving on. Now, although we can't blame her for what Randy does, she does let him get away with quite a bit. And finally, something worth noting about Sharon, when she thought Sam murdered someone, her first instinct was to bury and hide the body. I don't know what it says about her morality, but it says a lot about her loyalty to her children. Next, we have Linda Cartman, single mother and father to her son Eric. She's so lonely, she tries to be more a friend to her son than a parent. She's never incest. She's been featured in who knows how many episodes.
Nah.
And because she allows him to stay polluted, he can never
At least there was a blanket.
Scolding Eric over his language and misuse words.
Oh.
Which left so much slack for so long, it's tough.
Nah, that was.
Been shown throughout multiple
It was
episodes.
wasn't. Nah, he was.
You can have whatever you want.
Which ultimately turned him into a narcissist. But that said, her intentions are pure.
The heck?
She does seem to think she's doing
What's
right.
happened?
For her son, but still, she's created a monster.
You will respect my daughter.
The bronze medal for worst parents goes to the Buklowskis, Gerald and Sheila. What do you say about
We almost go to 100.
Denmark. At least Sheila didn't try to get her youngest son to take the fall. For being a troll and harassed a woman so much, she took her own life.
Hey, just stay calm and act like a young you, okay now?
They both clearly have issues, but it's awful how they grow to treat their kids. Sheila is never willing to hear Kyle out, despite the young kid being in the right when his mother goes off the deep end. Ironically, with Kyle being the voice of reason in the show, more often than not, his mother never listens to him. She believes any of Gerald's lies, and while smart, can be incredibly naive. Gerald has definitely grown to be the worse of the two, harassing women and young girls for pics, berating his oldest son, and guilting his youngest son. He'd likely be at this point. Next, we have Katie's parents, Stuart and Carol, taking the silver medal for worst parents.